have to still be laughing because it takes so long to be live. You're no longer laughing. Good
Oh
morning,
my God.
Jillian.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
last life ever.
Yay, it's
We have good
Saturday.
news for you. The best of the best news. Everyone is super excited.
Today is a gift. That is the good news.
No, listen, there's no such thing as bad days. Like, everyone knows that. Like, okay, so here's the thing. I don't think I share this enough because,
Yeah.
like, no one would ever think of me as a guy who doesn't have bad days, right? Because I've never mentioned that before. But here's the thing. Two really important things about this, and then we can talk about the good news thing that Jillian was laughing about, right? So, every single day, good and bad stuff happens, not just to
Yes.
you, but to everyone, like to the
Right.
whole world, right? So, like, it's objectively ridiculous to say a day is a good day or a bad day. I got this from Jamil, right? So Jamil Syed, who we interviewed on our show, he pointed out to me that somewhere in the world right now, someone's having the best day of their life.
Yeah.
And somewhere else in the world right now, someone's having the worst day of their life.
Right.
So by definition, today can be neither good nor bad, right?
Right.
It's just about your perspective and what you're personally experiencing. So if you can control your own environment, Hal Elrod says that the moment you take full responsibility for everything in your life, right, you can change anything in your life.
That's
right?
right.
So you got to let that sink in for a second, right? So if bad stuff happens to you and you take responsibility for that bad stuff that's happening, even if it's not your fault, right? I got leukemia, not my fault. How I responded, right? How I responded, that matters.
Right.
That's what determined whether that was a good day or not. And so when good and bad stuff happens to you, and it will, no matter what, unless you're extraordinarily lucky, you're going to have some bad stuff happen. You just got to, deflect it and focus on the positive. Mike Pearson, who we interviewed, right? He said for him, he had to find three, like after his son died in Afghanistan. I mean, that's terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said in order for him to move forward, he had to find three positive things that came from it. And so he recommended that we all find three positive things that come from every bad thing in our life. I think that's awesome. And those kind of tricks, those kind of things, they work. Look at this. A Facebook user just said, no bad days, 6th day in a row, going strong.
That's
See
awesome.
That? That's amazing.
That's awesome. Somebody doing the Kind Morning Challenge, and look what they did. They gave there no distractions as having bad
no
days.
bad
I
days.
love that.
That's like the best possible no distractions. I can't use that one because it's too easy for me. Because that's the other thing you learn about this no bad days thing is there's this thing called the reticular activating system, right? The Bader-Meinhof effect. There's like neural pathways in your brain. And the more you use certain neural pathways, the more easy it becomes to use them again, right? It's like building a muscle in your brain that says, wow, look at how cool this is. And this is actually what Jillian and I were laughing about when we first came on here, right? So Jillian was like, we should talk about something other than Kind Morning because it's our 6th day in a row, right? And I was like, okay, cool. So she's Googling like good news stories to figure we'll just share something positive, right? And I think the headline said, good news, only 27 people died, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Yeah. No, my favorite.
It wasn't quite that, but it was like that kind of ridiculous.
The top story, like every good news story, I went like 4 or 5 deep. Every good news story was actually a bad news story, which is like a little more optimistic about the bad news. Like, so Good Samaritans save. All I typed in was good news, and the first one to come up was Good Samaritans save officer from being beaten in Walmart parking lot. The second one,
I mean, it is nice that person stepped up and saved this officer, but like, there's a little bit of an undertone of negativity to the fact that the officer's getting beaten, right?
Yeah. The second The second one was like, good news is, COVID is terrible in Africa, but not as terrible as we thought.
Right. Yeah. Like
this
people are
doesn't really
dying,
qualify
but
as
it's a
good news.
couple less than what we thought it might have been.
Yeah.
It's so really terrible. But this actually goes back to the no bad days thing, Jillian, right? So like, a long time ago, I pretty much gave up the news for that reason because we are hardwired to respond viscerally to negative stimulus, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're genetically hardwired to do. So the news, knowing this, likes to put negative stuff out. And the way
Yeah.
you can counteract that is get rid of the noise. You got to
Yeah.
focus on positive. And if one source is constantly negative, you have to avoid that. So you need to spend more time in the Last Life Ever private group and less time on CNN. See how I did that, Jillian?
Yeah.
And with that,
I
that
would,
should be the end of our
I would
video.
definitely agree with less time on CNN.
Well, and more time in the group. Come on,
Yeah.
Jillian.
Yeah.
You got to be fully bought in here.
Right.
Positive, positive, positive. Everyone, say this with me, Jillian. I need you to do this.
Okay.
Today is a good day.
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 Today is a good MFing day. I'm
This is the
channeling my
PG
inner Tony
version.
Robbins.
It's the PG version. Oh, it's loud out here. I'm going to go back into the neighborhood.
Yeah, and you know what? Isn't it awesome that there's vibrance around you? See, that's what you got to do. It's not like, oh man, it's too loud, I got to turn around. It's like, this is great.
Actually, the flowers on the trees are amazing. Like, I can't believe, yeah, it's the middle of summer and there's still flowers on the trees, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I am being a little facetious, but you are exactly right. See that? The flowers on the trees? That's actually the trick. Somebody asked in the Facebook group a couple of days ago, they said, I'm really struggling to stay positive today. What should I do? And I said, you know what? Look outside. Look for a bird, flower, doesn't matter, right? Just like find something that brings joy to you and focus on that just for a little bit. Look at the flowers. Stop and smell the roses. There's wisdom to those things. And I'm telling you, 26 years, no bad days for me. If I can do it, you can do it. Believe me.
I'm going to tell you
something. My life has not been easy.
I'm going to tell you something positive in my neighborhood. I just noticed the porta potty's gone.
Oh, I haven't walked down to where my porta potty is, so it might still be there from last year.
Yeah.
I try to avoid it. It's too hot down there. And it smells like crap.
That the porta potty's gone. That makes me
I'm sure the one down here is gone too, because that was last year. I'm just joking. But it was pretty funny when.
Oof. There's a dead rabbit in the middle of the road, though.
You know, it's not a dead rabbit. It's free stew. You got to get this right. It's all about perspective.
I saw a bunch of crows in the middle of the road, and I'm like, I wonder what somebody must have dropped like a sandwich or something. And then I just happened upon it. It's not a sandwich.
Fair enough. All right. So I have one quick side note, and then I swear I'm going to end this video. I don't care what you say.
Okay.
All right. When I was in high school, I formed this band called Internal Disorder. It was spelled with a Y, DYSSOREDR. And our logo was just the letters I and D. And the best marketing we ever did is we would write ID on dollar bills before we spent them so people would think about us. Right? And we never wrote any music. We never wrote any music.
Okay.
And I have no musical talent.
Okay.
And we never jammed or played any of our instruments. We did have one guy who owned a keyboard, so he was in the band because he owned a keyboard. I had some drums, so I was the drummer.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to play the drums. I have no rhythm.
Okay.
But I did have a talent for coming up with really great lyrics.
Oh.
So I wrote one song.
Yeah.
It was called, and Your Dead Rabbit reminded me of this, actually. It was called Dead Cat. And it went like this. I was driving down the road and I saw a dead cat, and then we just made a lot of noise and went, dead cat! And it was awesome. And with that,
I'm gonna disagree with
story. I want to tell everyone that was before I gave up bad days, because I was weird back then. Giving up bad days changed my life. And I want that for you too, which is why Jillian and I want to, what, Jillian?
We want you to live the best version of